Okay, let's try it again. First of all, first thing I always want to decide for myself, is this a branch or not a branch? It is. It's a branch because of this. Okay, so it is a branch right away. So I know that at the end, I'm going to have to make sure I fix my answer and then use the function notation. So right away, I know I'm going to have to do this at the end. So you can even say, oh, I want to remember to do that at the end. Oh, wait, that yellow's not really showing up. Okay, I'll use pink. Okay, so make sure you know it's a branch. And if it's a branch, I know I'm going to use this notation at the end, right? Match it. I'll do that. And also, is it the left or the right branch? Left or the right? Right, because greater than. Right is greater, right to the right. If the mouth is open towards the X, it means it's heading bigger than the X. So I'm going to write right branch. If I know it's the right branch, which square root am I going to keep? I'm going to keep the plus, the positive one, right? So the positive one. So just remember you're keeping the positive one. You can just make a note to yourself at the beginning of the question, then you already know I'm not going to forget any of that stuff. I'm going to remember my notation. I'm going to remember to keep the plus. So that's just a note to self, right? That's kind of a, okay, that's myself going, I'm going to remember this. So you can do that on the side or at the top of the question. Now let's answer the question. So the first step is find the inverse. Oh, I even told you, look, the notation there. So we're going to do this. So I'm going to go y equals -6 x plus 2 squared plus 4. Right, so switch it to y. Switch x and y. Everything else remains the same. Who moves first? 4. Right, the furthest one out. 4 goes over first, becomes the opposite, x minus 4. Okay, so that one moves first. Okay, and the next one, -6, not the squared. Is that very clear? So don't do this one yet. That's closer to the y. I want the -6 first. So the -6 first, the whole thing, that cancels out. Okay, what do we got? What do I do with this? Remember what I said? Yep. Yeah, so I want this guy here. I know it's picky. I'm trying to do the harder scenarios, right? So that one has to move up for both of them. We don't leave a negative on the bottom. -x plus 4 over 6. Okay, and now we get rid of this one. When we get rid of that, we put plus, minus, exactly, plus, minus, right? So don't forget it on the first step. That's where I'm going to mark it for. Move up. Move. Okay, so cross that off. So we're going to go plus, minus, and grab from the bottom to the top. Like that. Okay? And then the last one to move is the 2. So then we're going to make that. And that's my vertical stretch at the, or vertical translation. Don't put it under the square root. Right? So leave it on the outside. So we're going to go here, plus, minus, from the bottom to the top. And then this goes on the outside. Don't put it inside. It's not out inside. It's just left out there. And then because I made all these crazy notes here at the beginning, you're not going to forget to do this, right? Because I already said, I know it's a branch, I know it's a positive, and I got to do my notation. So you know I'm going to have to do a little conclusion. So I'm going to go, okay, therefore. You don't have to put the therefore. Sometimes I do it just so I remind myself, hey, did I forget a therefore statement, right? So it's, you don't have to put it, but I'm going to go therefore. Okay, I always go, wait, did I forget? And then it forces me to check. So I need the inverse to equal, and I already told myself, because it's the right branch, it's the positive. So it's going to be square root. You don't have to put plus positive because it's invisible. That's it. Beauty nice. Okay, any questions with that? Okay, and there's the last question asks you to, can you find the inverse at 4? And again, we did a bunch of these before in chapter 1, so it's finding the inverse at 4. I just found this whole equation. I can just sub it in. Like if you already did all this work, you can just sub in 4 into the inverse. There's 2 different ways to solve it. I'll show you both, right? So solution 1 and there's solution 2. So there's 2 ways to do it. I'll show you both. One would be just to sub it in. I just did all the work up here. I think my gorgeous answer is gorgeous, so why not use it, right? So all I'm going to do is sub it right in. I'm going to go f at -1 at 4. So that means sub in. Right, subbing in the 4 into my answer right here. So then that would be square root, and it's negative, and you're putting 4 in for the x. So it's going to be the 4, so I'll highlight that, it's 4. This here goes right there, and then you're just answering it like that. So let x equals -2. That gets me 0, right? So I get 0 over 6, which is just 0. 0 divided by 6 is 0. -2, so this will be -2, so that's my answer. So you just calculate it. Okay, so that's easy. You already did all the work, that's totally fine. There's another way you could do it as well. I'll show you. If you don't want to do it the other way, that's okay, but let me show you. So the other option is to remember, if I gave you this, if I gave you this in chapter 1, we had 2 ways to look at it. If I give you inverse at 4, that means that the regular function equals 4. Do you remember that? So the inverse, when x equals 4, so this is x equals 4, means that y equals 4 in the original, right? So you can say if the inverse is at 4, then that means the original y equals 4. And then that means you would go to your original question, which is way at the top of the page. So look at the top of the page. And the original question gave you this. That's from the very top of the page. So if you look at the top, and you would sub this in to the left side and solve it. So you'd go 4 equals. Most people go, you know what, that's way too much work, because now look, I have to expand that and bring that over. So we did this solve by completing the square in grade 10. People didn't usually like it. And then we were like, we taught you quadratic formula and you never use this again. So usually most of our students went, oh, I never want to use that again, and then didn't. You had to bring the 4 over, right, and then divide and stuff. So I'll finish it, just so you know. 4 minus 4, so you do the opposite. Most people did not like this in grade 10, honestly. You went, too much work, and then you would go, I forget the step. So again, moving inside, so divide both sides by -6. Again, I know if you don't remember it, it's fine. You don't have to do it this way, right? So I got 0 divided by 6. So you're kind of getting the same answer anyway, right? That goes there. And then you square root. And that's why when most people kind of lose it, they're like, no, I'm done. That's a lot of work. So you go plus minus 0 equals x plus 2. And then that's just 0, right? So 0 equals x plus 2, and then you would bring the 2 over, so -2 equals x. So you get the same answer, so then you go there for the inverse equals -2. Honestly, most people don't like that because it's just as much work. And again, when we taught you this in grade 10, people didn't like it, right? Because it was so much work. You like the quadratic formula. You're like, I'd rather expand it and just use quadratic formula, honestly, right? So you don't have to know solution 2. I don't see a lot of people using that method just because it does take longer. But just if you were like, hey, can we do it that way? We can. This is easier because you just did all the work above, right? You did all the work to find the equation above, so you might as well just sub it in. Okay, it's mathematically, they're both correct, but this is probably easier to use. Is that okay? Is that our last example for this section? It is. Yeah. Questions?